Good morning. This is Father Stephen Kelly from St. John's Church in Detroit. We're continuing our series of daily morning meditations, where we generally look at one or another of the lessons that are assigned for morning or evening prayer, what is known as the Daily Office Lectionary. And I thought for today we'd take a look at one of the lessons that's assigned for morning prayer, and that is from St. Paul's second letter to the Corinthians. We're in the 12th chapter, and I want to actually jump forward and start at verse number 6. For though I would desire to glory, I shall not be a fool, for I will say the truth. But now I forbear, lest any man should think of me above that which he seeth me to be, or that he heareth of me. And lest I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelations, there was given to me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure. For this thing I besought the Lord thrice, that it might depart from me. And he said unto me, My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Therefore I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecutions, in distresses, for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong. I am become a fool in glorying, yet ye have compelled me. For I ought to have been commended of you. For in nothing am I behind the very chiefest apostles, though I be nothing. Truly the signs of an apostle were wrought among you in all patience, in signs and wonders and mighty deeds. For what is it therein they are inferior to other churches, except it be that I myself was not burdensome to you? Forgive me this wrong. Okay, so I want to dig into the middle of that lesson. I actually once heard a sermon from a priest who basically told me, it was a small 8 o'clock service on a Sunday morning, that this Paul was wrong. Right? And but the reality is that sometimes we learn best with some humility. Matter of fact, I can promise you that humility is the cornerstone of growth in the spiritual life. And sometimes suffering and ailments and infirmities, God will use to help us to become holy. Now, does he go and force us? Does he want us to be in pain? Does he want us to hurt? Of course not. But the reality is that our fallen bodies will fall apart. And the reality is that we can actually use physical suffering for our own good. I know it's a hard, strong battle, but can we persevere knowing the Lord is there in the middle of it? Asking for healing, as Paul said, he went 3 times and asked God for healing for some sort of thorn in his flesh. But then he decided that somehow God was not healing that particular ailment for him. And so he just uses it to remind himself that it's not about him, it's about Jesus. And that the infirmity for him became a reminder of his need to further depend upon God. Right? He doesn't want anybody to glory in St. Paul. He wants people to glory in Jesus Christ. And so sometimes suffering happens, right? When I am weak, then I am strong. And let's admit it, folks. We're broken in many ways. We're sinful. We struggle in the spiritual life. We struggle in life in general. And yet, as our faith deepens, it doesn't mean that things get easier. Life doesn't necessarily get easier. But our strength and our ability by God's grace to persevere through it and to thrive through what can be adversity at times is the great gift from God, because we're depending upon him for his mercy and for his strength. Right? Will God heal? Yes, absolutely. There are times when God does miraculous healings, and there are other times when it just continues. And whether we are healed or whether we are struggling through it at the time, we can all do things by God's grace. I know it's, like I said, I didn't say this was easy, but it is the Lord at work in us, through us, and with us. So today is Thursday, so 9 o'clock Holy Communion, and this is the last week, the service is at 9 o'clock. Next week, for October, we'll go back to having it at 10:30. But today, 9 o'clock for a Holy Communion with benediction, and I do hope you can join us live or on the live stream. And may God bless you with a Thursday that is full of his blessings.